Hello everyone, welcome back to the AFK Prodigy channel. Today we're going to be reading 3 methamphetamine trip reports. If you like this kind of content, please make sure to like and subscribe, and tell me what other videos you'd like to see in the future. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Story number 1. Check this out. I've done a lot of drugs in my time, at least on my standards. I've done shrooms, acid, coke, crystal, and weed of course. Though about 5 years of using everything pretty regularly, being ripped off one or the other, I've only had one bad trip: methamphetamine. One day I was chilling with one of my brothers and we decided to grab a gram of crystal. I'd done it about 4 times before this, sniffing and snorting it. This particular time we smoked the whole batch to the face, with no other leeches. It started off as a typical high, feeling kind of funny, alerted senses, etc. Then my brother, who was a freak, got real tired and wanted to go to sleep. I was wide awake, no sleep in sight, so I left his room and went to mine, right next door. As I laid in bed watching TV, cause the PlayStation was messed up, I started seeing a man in my closet pointing at me. Every time I looked away and looked back, he'd be in a different position, still making eye contact and pointing at me. At this point, I got scared because the guy was somebody I knew and had fought before. So this guy I didn't like was in my closet, pointing at me like he was out to get me. I'd look away and look back a bunch of times, and this shit kept happening. I felt like I was officially crazy. Then, if that wasn't enough, I started seeing my brother through the window reflection, hiding under my bed. I could literally see him pointing at me through the reflection, so I'm scared shitless. I decide I have to sleep now, so it will go away. I take 5 Walgreens brand sleeping pills, aka diphenhydramine, lay down and shut my eyes. Eventually I fall asleep periodically throughout the night. I would wake up and see spiders. The fucking spiders. Spiders! I would swipe them away because they were jumping towards me and then fall back to sleep. This happened a few times during the night. There was always a big spider and a bunch of baby jumping spiders, all jumping towards my face. When I woke up, I remembered all this shit and seen bugs on my bedspread. I end up spraying my whole bed, every sheet with Raid. Every layer I took off, there were still more spiders, and no matter where I was, they were always jumping towards my face. So, my room smells like Raid, all my sheets are being washed, and I go into my brother's room. I still see spiders. I tell them they're on his crotch, and now they're on my shirt. So I take my shirt off and spray it with Raid, and then put it back on. My brother says, "Why don't you just change your shirt?" I get confused, and my brother checked my room and said if there were bugs on your bed, they'd all be dead all over, and there was nothing, so I realized I was tweaking. Up to this point, I felt like I was thinking rationally. Then it hit me. I messed up. It took about 4 more hours before I was really thinking straight. I spent that time in my brother's room with him laughing at me. I ended up doing meth a bunch more, and that was the only bad experience I ever had. I was terrified but not discouraged to try it again. I haven't had a bad trip since, and I hope I never do again. Take what you want from the story. It's not a deterrent or promoting use, because I don't care what you do. Okay, that was a pretty interesting story. Let's move on to story number 2. I'm 19. I'm male. Therefore, in my mind, I'm invincible, right? That is how we tend to think. I've experimented with a variety of chemicals in my life. Mushrooms, pot, DXM, amphetamines, and coca leaves on top of that. I'm a libertarian, and I used to believe that there wasn't any substance on earth that was evil. But it was the intent of the user that caused bad things to happen. That all changed once I tried crystal meth. A friend of mine manufactures pure smokable meth crystals. I'd done it a few times before, innocently thinking it probably won't do me any permanent harm like the previous amphetamines I'd used. This time, my friend brought me an 80 sack of reddish crystals. I had already spent a lot of time reading about it, and I knew that just meant it was made with. I'm gonna botch this so bad. Futures. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. And they just didn't wash it properly or something like that, but that it was safe. I crushed the crystals into a small mine. It only takes a very small amount to get me going on that stuff. Snorted it and began my high. That night I spent over at a friend's house cleaning up, going shopping, and watching movies with him. Of course I stayed up until the next day. A workday, mind you. And every 4 hours or so I'd go out to my car and snort another line. All I could think about was that little baggie in my car waiting for me. This time, it was different, though. Once I hit the 36 hour, I started to hallucinate. I was sitting at my cubicle, and my arms looked 10 feet long. The world was spinning, and everything was distorted. My heart was racing, and I have a heart condition. I was worried that my heart would explode. I was wondering how I was going to get home hallucinating. Fortunately, since I work in a call center, I didn't have to take any calls because no one called that last hour. I spent the whole time in my notebook writing one of the most chilling instrumentals to that thing I've ever written. Against my better judgment, I drove home because I didn't want my parents knowing I was on ice. I went to that friend's house after again, and I ran in the door and destroyed that extra $30 worth of ice as quickly as I could before I lost the guts to do it. That was a Saturday. The following Tuesday, I finally began to come down. I woke up, didn't eat breakfast like usual. I've been dealing with anorexia for the past 2 years, probably made things worse. And I went off to get cigarettes and locked my keys in the van. And I just fell to my knees and cried after a few minutes. I realized that the back door was open still, and I got in that way. I cried the whole way home, and for the next several hours, uncontrollably. The only thing I could think about was how much I wanted to die, and I didn't know why. My dad came home and talked to me for several hours, and I told him everything that was going on. Today is Wednesday, and now I believe that methamphetamine is evil in on itself. Pure evil. It's taken me through the worst of hells the past days, and I think whatever God there may be, that I saw that before I got in anymore. As it is, I'm still waiting for my cognitive functions to return to normal. I find myself horribly frustrated because I can't concentrate. Because I can't construct a sentence without thinking about it first. I have all these ideas and I get horrible frustration trying to communicate them. It's getting better right now, but I've only done meth 3 times. I never believed in evil before I came across this, but I just can't put it in any other way. Meth nearly swallowed my soul. I looked the devil in the eye and spat in his face. I'm just glad I didn't have to pay a higher price, like some of the people I've known before now. Story number 3. I had gone up to my boyfriend's college to visit him Valentine's Day weekend. On Friday night, we had been doing MDMA on a pretty regular basis, and this weekend was to be no different. But drugs could not be found at the college, so we took the 2-hour drive back to my hometown, borrowing my friend's Bill's car to pick up some ecstasy, and then go back. When we got to my friend's house, who was hooking us up with ecstasy, I was told that there was meth around. I was scared. I had never done meth, and I knew that I was going to get the chance to that night. So we went to pick up the E, or ecstasy, and the kid there broke me out a line of meth. Instantly, it burned way worse than coke ever has, but it only lasted a second. Soon I felt like I was rolling. I had more energy, and the glow sticks and trance music was pulling me in. Needless to say, we didn't end up going back to college like we thought. Then my boyfriend and I each ate 2 pills. Later, we found out the pills were straight meth bombs and hung out entranced by the music and the light sticks. It was a nice clean roll for a while, but then I started coming down and I didn't want to come down, so I bought another pill at 6 a.m. and continued rolling. Everyone left at like 12 p.m. and we really didn't have any place to go. My boyfriend was not supposed to be in town and we were incredibly cracked out from lack of sleep, and my boyfriend had told me he cheated on me that night before, but I had been too fucked up to get mad at him for it. Now it's Valentine's Day. I hadn't gotten any sleep and I'm tripping out seeing glow sticks everywhere. There was a whole wall of them, in fact. We ended up going over to his cousin's house and hanging out. My boyfriend was really exhausted and went to sleep for a little bit. I took a shower, and the whole time I was having audio and visual hallucinations, like walls changing color, and the shower was telling me to get in. But that could have been dealt with. That night, my boyfriend and I, his cousin Lisa, and her friend Nicole wanted to roll, so we made the trip back, bought some more ecstasy, some juice, and some glow sticks. We popped the pills around 7 p.m. Mind you, I still had gotten no sleep. Once the roll started kicking in around 8 p.m., I began to notice heavier visuals, and as the night went on, they became more and more real, until I couldn't distinguish what I was seeing from what was really there. I was seeing all these people that weren't really there, only in the dark though, and trying to climb over people to get to the couch, when in reality there was no one sitting there. I would look over to my left, and on the arm of the couch, I would see revolting faces that scared me. Then we broke out the glow sticks. I was told later on that I was playing with them for like 3 hours straight. I woke up with cuts all over my hands, but the entire time I was seeing dinosaurs and skulls and having weird random hallucinations. I would look at the walls on the TV and see entire shows and cartoons playing in front of my eyes. Glass took on a whole new dimension. But I also began to notice that I had been ignored all night by my boyfriend. We began to get that sickness coming down. So we called up the kid and he had 3 pills left. It was a long drive to his house, but I think we all went. Maybe not, I don't really remember, but it's down the country base. Awkward roads the whole way there. I remember looking out the window and seeing all sorts of cartoon characters in the window. So around 3:30 a.m., Lisa and Nicole popped another pill, and my boyfriend and I split one. I got the bigger half because it seemed to make sense at the time. We went back downstairs to play with the glow sticks, and I was watching Lisa and Nicole give light shows. I began to see all sorts of shapes in the middle, like hearts and the short. This lasted until about 6 a.m. Sunday morning, when I began to notice intense audio hallucinations. Somebody seemed to be watching me every move and commenting on it negatively. By this time my body was exhausted and I just wanted to sleep. I kept hearing my boyfriend's cousin. I collected my boyfriend and we went to bed. Before we went to bed, though, we got into a huge fight. I accused him of ignoring me all night, which he had, but later he told me there was something about the look in my eye that he didn't trust. I've seen it myself doing meth again. Later on, I cried myself to sleep because it hurt so bad coming down, and the feelings of emptiness were intense. I slept approximately 3 hours before getting up again, but I still felt like I was rolling. At the time, I didn't realize I was tripping out because of the meth. I was seeing glow sticks and shadow people everywhere. But even worse, I began to realize that everyone was talking about me, and everyone didn't like me. I thought that I could hear people's thoughts, and they were all negative. Shit began to hit the fan that day. My boyfriend's mom found out that we were back in town, and she got very pissed off about it. that's when things really soared. My boyfriend's mom wanted to take me home, but I cried and cried and cried rather irrationally because I couldn't let my mom see me like that. So I ended up pulling a few strings and lying to everyone and was able to stay with my boyfriend that night. We went back to his house and I couldn't sleep still. I was having a very intense bad trip. Later, thinking about it, what manifested in front of my eyes was everything that I thought was evil and wrong. I was seeing everything from a movie of the attack on WTC playing over and over again, to a meeting of the Ku Klux Klan going on in somebody's backyard. My boyfriend had bought me roses for Valentine's Day, and I've always thought flowers are a bad gift, but that night I watched them wither and die over and over again. I even looked in the mirror and didn't see my reflection. I begged my boyfriend to stay awake with me. I was so scared, but he really didn't understand what was going on, and I didn't want to tell him I had done meth. So we got up the next day, and my boyfriend was supposed to drive back to his college, give Bill's car back, and go back to school. But we ended up hanging out for a while before he was going to drop me off. We went over to the kid's house who had meth, and I ended up doing a line for some hydrocodone that I had stolen from my boyfriend's mom. I told my mom I was hanging out with his brother Mike. When I went to call my mom, shit went bad. She had found out I wasn't with Mike, and they had people out looking for us. So being irrational and fucked out of our minds, the first thing we decided to do was go back to my boyfriend's college, escaping any problem there. But shit was bad. We didn't have any money for gas, and this was before gas was $2.25 a fucking gallon. Thank God. So I borrowed a couple dollars from a friend. It was all I could get, and we went about our way. So we got there in one piece, but once I was there, I began hallucinating wicked bad. I thought my friend Bill was trying to kill me. People were following me, but when I went to them, they would always back away. I thought the cops were after me. My boyfriend's mom and him were conspiring against me, and I thought a few of my friends were commenting on every move. I could not tell the difference between my meth-induced psychosis and reality. Bugs were crawling all over my skin. I tried to tell my boyfriend that people were after me and trying to kill me, but now I realize how stupid that must have sounded. I didn't sleep for another 2 nights at all. I also could not bear the thought of food, so I lost like 10 pounds in 5 days. Drinking mostly blue Powerade. When I finally came down completely, I got really sick because my immune system was killed at that point. My boyfriend and I had basically said our goodbyes forever. Although we dated a little bit longer, I see that as the official end of our relationship. Meth is an incredibly powerful drug, and a lot of people don't know what they are getting themselves into. I certainly didn't. So that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe. Without further ado, have a good day.